Good evening, folks. Welcome to Soul Food Books. Welcome to Soul Food Poetry Night. Thank you for coming, either because of the heat, and it's nice, hopefully cooler in here, or in spite of the heat, I'm not sure which. You do have choices. We're glad you're here. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Michael Dillon Welch, and with Tanya McDonald, we coordinate our monthly reading series. So if this is your first time, we invite you to come back. If this is not your first time, you're also invited to come back. We will have our two featured readers, and then a break, and then the open mic. The sign-up sheet for the open mic is on the back table there, so if you'd like to sign up for that, please do. And our question of the month is your favorite summertime song. So that's what you need to answer, if you like. Okay, our two featured readers tonight. First, we will be having Sergey Feldman, who is a poet-engineer. He was born in Ukraine and raised in the Midwest, and now lives here in Seattle, where he studies applied math and meditation. Do anything with topological theory? Okay, just curious. He spent 10 months traveling the world and wrote about it on his blog. And if you take a look at it, it's on the announcement sheet. If you want to look for that later, you can track it down. Some interesting stories in various far-flung places. He drums and recites with Band of Poets. And if you haven't seen Band of Poets, they've been on the stage and also a few other places like Hugo House in the past. They're worth checking out. A musical extravaganza with poetry as a focus, which is really cool. And we'll have some music tonight, I'm pretty sure. So that's Sergey. In addition, John Burgess, who grew up in upstate New York, worked on a survey crew in Montana, taught English in Japan, and since 1985 has lived in Seattle, where he does corporate communications for an insurance company, which he's deliberately left out. I'm not sure why. Ravenna Press publishes his poetry, Punk Poems. Do you have some of your older books with you? I just have Graffito. Okay. So, but I recommend the older books. I can't recommend Graffito yet because I haven't looked at it yet. But I'll have a hunch that it's really good too. Punk Poems is 2005, A History of Guns in the Family from 2008, and the brand new one, Graffito, and it's $10. John was a 2006 Jack Straw writer, co-founder of the original Burning Word Festival, and the 2008 Wordsworth curator for the Seattle City Council, which I think was a cool gig. They don't do that anymore, do they?
No, I think they stopped.
That's too bad, because I think it was a fun thing to do. He is currently editor for the online lit journal Snow Monkey and is a board member of Richard Hugo House and a co-conspirator with the Band of Poets. And yes, we're going to have some music here along with poetry, so I'm looking forward to that. We'll start off with Sergey. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm in the middle of a cold. That's why I sound like this. So I'll just pause to cough occasionally, and that's not part of the act. Number 1. I did not ask to be born. Thus, every day is a bonus day, a cherry floating merrily on an empty cake. The flies are buzzing in my room, caught, dumb, banging fly heads on the window. They want out. We must also be banging our small hurt heads on something. Or else, why do we feel stuck, worrying about outcomes and legacy, old age and destitution, our children and our parents, our vigor and beauty? All gifts, water in the hands. Number 2, to study the self is to forget the self. That's what Dogen said. Sages speak, and we parrot them, our mouths becoming ravens' beaks. The raving clutters the air. It is loud in here. Listen, forgetting is a crime. You will be late. You will let everyone down. You will lose your life, your status, your friends, your love. You will lose your life. So why should anyone herniate a disc trying to forget? I knew, but I went grim explaining. I got intellectual, and that's how poems bleed. So just forget I said anything. Forget the whole thing. Number 3. The body mound still sitting, dread and squirm churning, crows playing cat's cradle with the telephone poles, thin cause, and the brute dumb roar of traffic, everything on a buffet table. Grab soon what you will, for it grows cold and slimy. Vile fiends, leave me be. Your whole fucking table is pre-digested filth, and I'm not hungry. Number 4. The knowing arrived at dinner, carried by dead leaves that I said I would rake, but did not. It left after lunch the next day in the heart of a dead light bulb, rattling brightly. Number 6. It is in the absence of this or that that I have found a grimy signpost for the truth. It sits on ducks for microseconds, fluttering in the wind. The Zen aesthetic, boring me to tears in windowless rooms. Old, twinkling, bald heads invite me gently to keep trying, even as they bar me from retreat. This is called Fuck Newton. Eat more bread. Drink another beer. Smoke another cigarette. Stuff rough chunks of life into your bag until full. Empty it out and start again. You and I fall asleep at different times, but the bags we drag behind us are made of the same rough, itchy material. We scour the ground similarly. We glance left and right. We crane our sore necks. We are synchronized storks, thin, hungry feet and all. Only taking, loving what's around, that's what he would do. The rest of us, though, we love what we love. We don't know how to stop. We love everything too much and always pay. We pay and pay. We love our empty wallets. We grasp at each other until it hurts, and then right past that. This is called Brighton Beach. Russians. Oh, well, halva is not Russian, but it's Russian. Just like warm Georgian breads stuffed with deliciousness. Not Russian, but Russian, because when Stalin says nashi, he means mine. And the former Союз Советских Социалистических Республик took, and made its own. And here it all is, an outpost of the empire in sprawling Brooklyn, whom drowns in the foreclosed eyes of ex-matrosi, wearing leather jackets below scraggly, violent jowls, up and down the boardwalk, the gates, the одежды, the very faces, and scream at me with a rude familiarity an ease, unease, not unlike riding a square-wheeled bike again after 15 years. Clank, clank, clank. This is called Ouroboros. The womb. No role or obligation. That's what I am missing. The womb, the atomic womb, the hydrogen womb, wombastic, womanizer, run a womb through your hair and smell the nascent name nearest to nose, the fragrant story propagating in puffs, an echo vibration, beginning, middle, end. In the womb, I curled stoically, calmly, but grasped and groped daily for the missing tail. Where is it? Where is my own original end? Gone. Sad sighs as I settle for a thumb to suck or a nipple. The story of me must go on and out into the hard world and continue until that tail is found. Number 7. I glint hopefully between two dark infinities. I research the abyss that is in all women and men, the softness underneath fear, the closest place, myself a man preaching everything that is fire, myself a woman, open, receptive, a river flowing, and myself a void, turning without turning, afraid and fearless each day, hungry, strong, sleepy, aroused, lovesick, wise, weak, closed, open, closed, open. Poem from the future. Dear everyone, how are you? I am fine. Emails are nice and Skype is fancy, but a postcard is guaranteed to maximally warm your heart, and a poetical postcard doubly so. I write while my head spins in terror of yet another abyss. I have found God and I have lost God, and I worry incessantly that taking a train from Almaty to Beijing will show me nothing but the hollow specter of time. I worry and celebrate. I celebrate this simmering cauldron of moments in which I must bathe to fulfill some obscure prophecy intoned by an infant me, whose knowledge of the future was total but useless, for he spoke only in babbles and the sign language of pacifiers. In the mirror, his wise young face tells me that each day's sky-smeared horizon is a gift. Clouds, sun, unrecognizable birds, a warm mystery set to repeat, rolling out of cosmic speakers at a frequency most of us have not yet learned to hear. This quest turns out to be a cochlear one, a training of the inner ear, asking street musicians if they have heard it, or even of it, receiving laughing non-responses. For they who know do not speak. They only point at the moon, their fingers plain, ringless, so that the foolish seeker might have a sliver of a chance of noticing the pale silver smile in the sky that hums over and over the only song there is. I will be home again soon. Please keep oiling my congas as regularly as possible. With love, Sergi. And this is the last poem. I'd like to thank you guys for having me, and thanks for John for poking me along the road of poetry. 5 lessons learned on a Thailand train. 1. Hail, fellow travelers. All opinions, states, and ideas pass according to the law. like my own madness and search, those twin engines, snakes, firing, coiling, keeping a fire lit under my ass and my heart open and bleeding, failing to learn my lessons the easy way from the mistakes of others. Lesson 2, and that is why I fail. Lesson 3, a train below and above me, Thailand out the window, first daylight warm and inviting, me donning the mantle of vegetarian, suspended, stuck in midair, eating what is probably a fishball, but fuck it, I love life even if it is bred and killed only to feed me. It's a special kind of love. Yes, this is zombie love. Number 4, I have read of infinity and oneness, Zen masters slapping students, and now I hear a message clearly from within.
The coming and going of enlightened beings has nothing whatsoever to do with me.
Is my snorkeling Nigash the same or different from the blue curtains? Number 5, nothing is lost or gained. Let's go forward until we have to stop. Thanks. And now, John Burgess.
Let's go forward until we have to stop, Sergi. Look at us, a war for every year alive. Blossoms and empty jug dreams, and embroidery of patchwork robes, and threading shock of white hair. Invasion begets evasion, city after city sacked, the far hills spilling blood, the color of wine. Deer feeding on the tailings from spent casks, 100 poems per jug. Drunk again in dragonfish boat, tipping over to kiss a ripe moon. In plum waters on the stillest of nights, pressing lips to lunatic reflection, kerplunk. New York jazz piece. Sit, sit, sit some more. Swell of angels, window voices, everyone on the street. Mr. Jones will be out in 1 more minute. Handheld holds a note of full breath, inhales horns, plaza, za, za, sound check, uber ethnic, alternative harmonics, breakneck, hit the brakes double park, Bryant Park. Content can change meaning. A phrase, a word can mean different things depending on what knowledge and experience the reader brings to the text. Pipes, radiator ping, shower runs cold, nothing on hold. Sir, would you like a program for the show behind the public library? Lions, my champ, light through plexi and plexi geometrics, grand ode abstractions from the balcony, things begin to make sense. How do we get out of here? Come on, let's get out of here. The story of a walking through the city, bison cave paintings, chalk line, in line, in line, in line. Dialogues exist solely for their own sake as joyous occasions. Blast furnaces, coal tipples, winding towers, cooling towers, gas tanks, coal burners. I can get some pennies out. So modern, sitting where the poet had lunch. You must have more company. Cross the line. A real New York writer wrapped in velvet, brick basement disbursement. Brooklyn Bridge is 125 years old and never charged a toll. Gertrude Stein doesn't blink, 23,000 trees to maintain. Layers of graffiti to erase, leaving only white lines. Later and darker, not so playful, native of the city. Jamaica train on time. Movement, muggy luggage through underground lugging tunnels filled with luggage, leaving Pennsylvania. Count revenue differently or some such bullshit. High electrical buzz, overhead fluorescence, mechanical caffeine high. It's French roast, tease a picture. Warning, watch the gap, sustain. Literal space. Every note requires attention, motion, translation and interpretation, resonance. A belt, a belt, a belt, about a better ground transport on the ground, around, a found sound on the ground, a loop, a loop, a loop, a loop. Many bags look alike, tat, 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 a belt, a belt, a belt, a track, a track, a track, a track, a run, a run, a run, a run, a run, a run, a run. You could have a discussion about this for days. Start a whole movement. A York, a York, a York, a York, a York, a York, a York. Not here anymore, it's gone. Used to be right here. Huh? Yeah, so I was gonna open up to that first. Okay, this next one is, I found it, it's still in here, and no one took it out of here. No. This is the Ballad of James Accord. James Accord was an artist who was the only U.S. citizen that was given a nuclear waste handling permit from the U.S. government. And he worked out at Hanford, and he was building these huge, monstrous, he called them, and his idea was to build these great granite horse heads and then put nuclear waste in the center of them. And so this poem's to him. This is called the Ballad of James Accord. Sometimes alone, sometimes in clusters, sometimes in parallel, but a lifetime apart. Sometimes sinking, sometimes afloat. There are two parallel paths on which human beings seek the truth, sometimes tangled in each other's hair, sometimes oblivious. Sometimes replicas coming off a conveyor belt upstream. I wanted to be able to identify and imagine how everything I saw was made. Sometimes punk, sometimes lead pole folded into paper boats demonstrate the ancient link between art and technology. Sometimes mammalian noses just above drowning. Science, sometimes a Cold War that never ended. Science and art, art and science, they're just two spokes going into the center of the karma wheel. Sometimes a rodeo, sometimes a Veterans Day parade, sometimes loose cannon protons released from larger atoms looking to start a chain reaction. We have not stolen anything, we have just learned about it. Sometimes long stretches like nothing is wrong. Sometimes Failure takes years. If you want to make things, if you want to create things, everything is hazardous. This one is called Aurora Bridge. I wanted to write a poem about Aurora Bridge that didn't refer to suicide. So I tried to recast it as a working class bridge. I cross the bridge every day going to work. So this is about working and the bridge, what it took to build the bridge. And yeah, I think that's it. Looking for efficiency and economy, a transportation opportunity, shortest distance between 2 points. A route, a rut, routine, spanning wide lowlands, excavating and placing fittings in soft mud, driving cofferdams, building a concrete future. Silicon steel and optimum stress capabilities, another 40 hours for another 20 years. Bracing angle steel and lattice work, longitudinal I-beams and floor system, 2-column batter piers. Shovel in hand, stand in excavation, a mighty plan, feet planted firmly on land. And nobody believes there's nothing to believe in. Drawings and blueprints, engineers and architects, inspectors and inspections, specifications and examinations, a cut, a gap, muscle, sheer will, power, energy. If work is what you want done, plowing or digging or carrying something, I can do that. On the backs of workers, lifting up and arcing through, Mexican council keeping that saw blade well oiled. High capacity for stress, structure and function, wear and tear body. Rhythm of hammers, rivets, bolts, weld, swinging steel. Crowds moving forward like waves from both ends. Workers return in the morning. Cantilever. The day of the tall ships is past. Interstates linked to neighborhoods, common commerce, acting locally, shipping globally, economic capability, rolling back the barrier, Pacifica, Cascadia, Terrania, Metropolia. Rigid arms extending from both sides of base, inner ones supporting a central span. Effectiveness through repetition. Centralized workstations. Labor-ready locations. Infrastructure for delivery, regular inoculations. How do you mirror the chaos you live through? Only by using lift booms and buckets did inspectors gain a close-up view. Weakened structural components, reinforced top floor beams, rebuilt rocker rest. Structure still stands. One more day, brother. Pouring concrete from a barge, reinforce this important link. Silver mornings, his sweat flying all over you. Our forward rush into eternity. Sergi Feldman on drums, as well as poems earlier. Yeah, Sergi. Because you guys are really lucky tonight, I'm going to try something experimental. That's how lucky you guys are. Sergi, besides playing drums, also records these little musical feedback kind of loop kind of things. So I got one on my iPhone, and so I'm going to try to play it through the boombox and read a couple poems over top of it. We'll see, because sometimes it ends before I end, and sometimes I end before it ends, but we'll give it a try. Okay, don't look, I'm entering my passcode. Okay. There is magic in it. Such a mystical, such a portentous monster carries you, infallibly leading you to overwhelming. Listen to waves, to sailing out, to paddles of disbelief. The distance you put before me. Listen to the breaks, the hard times. Our own emotions will scare us shitless. Listen to that. Flap, 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 flap. Not too bad, not too bad. Thanks. I want to thank Michael for inviting us. Thanks. Thanks to Soul Food for the coffee, lemonade, sandwich, etc. It was great. I didn't know this, but you guys have a notebook where you put a poem in, and so I brought a poem to leave in the notebook, and this is the poem I left. Maybe it's kind of related to soul food. I was kind of surprised when I found it in here. It's punk poem number 68. And it was inspired by Walt Whitman's "I Sing the Body Electric," which I did with the Band of Poets a couple times before that. So, punk poem 68. How the body embodies the soul. How the soul equals the poem. The poetics of the body, all parts of the body, all functions of the body, writes on the soul a poem. The width and breadth of the body, the measure of the poem, the physicality of the soul. On our souls, on our bodies, soulful body language. Lines for a graffiti artist. A return to ritual, to irrational human experience, to make lines. Gestures, graffitis, voluminous letters, aggressively fluid lines. Everything is symbolic. Everything refers to something else or may mean something else. More than anything else, I wanted to communicate. Art, when understood, is a province of every human being. This mind-to-heart flow directly on surface without preconceived plan, animated by the rhythm, waiting to be performed. Beat is poetic meter, rhythm that of language fitted to that of music, necessary unfettered constraints, potentially unfettered lines, effortless offhand elegance that liberates. missionary spirit distilled into pure meaning. Perhaps paintings can be poems, no need for definition, viewed as a whole, physically aware of edges, line determines work. I found positions that were new to me. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. We'll take a short break, maybe 10 or 15 minutes here. Please get something to drink or eat. And if you haven't signed up on the open mic list, you can still do that. And then we'll continue after the break with our open mic readers. And again, thank you, John and Suji.
Is that okay?
Okay, we're ready to get started again. I'd like to remind you of our next reading next month, September 20. We do this every month. So September 20, that's September, that's fall. Where's the summer gone? The leaves are already turning by then, I'm sure. September 20, our featured readers are Christine Swanberg and Penelope Scambley-Schott. They will be coming, I think they're both in Oregon. I think that's where they both live, so they're visiting from Oregon. We're glad to have them here. We also have another monthly reading series here in Redmond, and usually I announce it, but we have Laura Lee Bennett to tell you more about it this time.
This is a real stage and a real microphone, which I'm not used to. Okay, listen up. Redmond Association of Spoken Word, otherwise known as RASP, meets on the last Friday evening of the month at the old Redmond Schoolhouse Community Center, which is just on the other side of town. And the lovely and talented Michael Dillon Welch curates the reading series. And this month's featured readers is actually, usually we have just one featured reader and then the rest is open mic. It's a pretty lively and friendly group. But this month we have 3 featured readers, and they're all Jack Straw writers. They're all Jack Straw fellows for this year. And I don't know who all of you know how that works. I only know a little bit about how it works, but my understanding is that these Jack Straw writers spend some time working on something that they've been wanting to work on for a while, and then they take their show on the road, and they do a little bit of a tour through the city and stop and read at various places. And so we're going to get the opportunity on Friday, August 24th, to hear the following individuals: Jack Straw writers, Gabriella Denise Frank, Stacy Bennett, and Nick Wong. That's Friday, August 24th, 7 p.m. Come early to sign up for open mic. We're at the Old Redmond Schoolhouse Community Center. If you come a little early, you can hang out with us. We're pretty cool. Thanks.
And now it's time for our open mic. We have, I think, what is probably the smallest number of open mic signups that we've ever had here. So I'm going to say we could read for a little longer than just 3 minutes. How's that? How about 5 minutes? Does that sound good? Actually, we had 3 people sign up, but 1 person had to leave. So there's only 2 of you.
6 minutes.
Okay, 6 minutes. Yeah. I might scare up something to read too. Our question of the month is your favorite summertime song. And our first reader is John Tripp, who says his favorite song is Lollipop. So maybe you could sing a few bars for us.
Lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, 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 lollipop, lollipop, oh, lolly, 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 lollipop. There you go. This first poem I want to read is, I just completed it last week, actually. And it refers to my experience in the Army back in Okinawa in the 60s. And I was at a PX, and I was checking out my stuff, and there was a person in front of me, a very young Marine, and he was buying some pies, some comic books, and he was going off to Vietnam. And it really struck me. We're sending kids over there. So anyway, this is what this poem's about. It's called Never Again. When I was drafted in July '66, our government had just started calling for more troops to fight in Vietnam to keep dominoes from falling. Months later, when I was at the PX buying a thing or two, a newly minted Marine, just turned 17, was doing his shopping there too, holding 5 comic books he couldn't wait to read and 3 boxes of blueberry pies. He checked out of the store and straight into the war. A little more than a child in my eyes. Even now, I still can picture him, so young, so innocent, so proud, and wonder, did he get out alive or come home in a black plastic shroud? And if he survived that long, bloody war, did his fellow Americans welcome him home? Or just make nasty cracks while turning their backs, leaving him angry, confused, and alone? And can he ever put the war behind him? Or does it still mess with his head? Does he wake up screaming late at night, then lie sweating alone in his bed? Does he still hit the deck when he hears a loud boom? Does he get drunk to escape the pain? Did he once have a wife and teenage son he neglected again and again? Now walking past 58,000 plus names carved in black marble stone, I try not to cry, but tears still fill my eyes as I silently welcome him home. Is that young Marine's name etched somewhere on this wall? Or is he still among the living? Does he continue to dwell in his own private hell? Or has he finally found peace by forgiving? And now even Robert McNamara, our then Secretary of Defense, has admitted the war was a tragic mistake we've been paying for ever since. And the lesson Vietnam should have taught us, that our leaders still choose to ignore, is to never again send our children to fight in someone else's civil war. I got my 3 minutes, I can do one more. This is a short one. I couldn't help but notice my friend was slowing down, and sometimes he would stumble as he slowly walked around. The doctor ran a bunch of tests to find out what was wrong. Cancer was the culprit, so he wouldn't live for long. But with major surgery and chemotherapy too, we might get him through the winter. What would you have us do? Well, you've told me it's incurable, and I see my friends in pain. To let him go on suffering to me seems inhumane. What would life be like without him? Yet I knew I must decide. With a heavy heart, I made my choice as warm tears filled my eyes. With my loving arms around him, I said goodbye for good, then asked the doc to end his life as gently as he could. As the needle slid in, he slowly closed his eyes, and his aches and pains all disappeared, as in my arms he died. So my faithful dog was put to sleep, humanely as can be. I only ask when it's my turn, please do the same for me. Thank you. We all go through transitions. This was, I went through a transition of a year of being out of work, and this kind of helped me out. It's called transitions. I'm trying to, we gotta get in the mood here. A foghorn's mournful warnings echo across a sea whose dark and troubled waters somehow beckon me. Torn by indecision, stay on shore or go, risk nothing and remain the same, or risk everything and grow. Guided solely by my instincts, I race across the sand, dive into uncharted waters in search of promised lands. Surrounded by an endless fog in a world I do not know, unseen currents test my will as I swim against their flow. After hours, finding nothing, hope begins to fade. Fear now overwhelms me, and I curse the choice I've made. Yet there's a distant longing like a compass in my heart that leads me ever forward through the fog and through the dark. Then just as I near bottom and can barely carry on, with inner peace, I embrace my fears, and they vanish in the dawn. The pounding surf and the cry of gulls say this journey's end is near, that I found my there we go. That I've reached my land of promise by making peace with fear. Then rising from the water's edge, I finally understand. The child who dared depart these shores returns now as a man.
So the small number of readers gives me an excuse to inflict these poems upon you. This is a quartet of African barbers singing lustily. So there's four poems, one for each of these four countries. And the first one is called Chad Fad. There once was an actor from Chad whose coughing was terribly bad. He coughed on the telly from deep in his belly, and now he has started a fad. Jolly Molly. There once was a man who was jolly, who took a safari to Mali. He hunted no game and never took aim, for his name was Salvador Dali. Ghana bananas. There once was a lady named Anna who lived in a country named Ghana. She got very sick and died very quick from eating a rotten banana. Uganda pandas. There once was a man in Uganda who really deserved quite a handa, for he became lost at very great cost while searching in China for panda. There you go. Our next open mic reader is Tamara Lebicki, and your favorite song is Summer in the City, which is a great song, and it's her first time here. Tamara.
Hello, everyone. I'll point this mic downward. Oh, you can adjust. Thank you. So I'm reading off my iPad. It has 4% battery life left. So I'm not sure how many poems I'm reading. This one is called I Wasn't There. In the summers at the house that sat like an old man thinking, chin over lake, time was different, slower or absent, and the summer mugginess, the chirping of the frogs and the cicadas colluded to make the very air around me, the dimensions I moved through like that neighborly water, slow motionizing, constricting, comforting. And we'd sit up on that overhang, teeth in the house's mouth, and read or be silently staring at the daylight, turn to orange, turn to gray, and I'd swear I wasn't there. Then the blackness of the tall pines against the navy night would make me swear I wasn't anywhere. The house was haunted. This being obvious when I set eyes on the place, on the lake, on the valley. One day when I wasn't there, that wooden deck, chin cracked beneath you. When I came back, hugging groceries, you were still sitting, chair beside the gulf, eyes fixed on the water, forearms full of bruises, bloody icy rag held to jaw. Sleep never made it through the night, as if I had slept too much in the daytime. You'd say each morning you'd woken in fits and starts, the sounds of nocturnal life at its height, and each time it seemed like thousands. I wasn't there. I wasn't there when the house was built by your uncle or father or a stranger, who knows, nor there when your children ran in summer circles around you, wrapped you in heartstrings like a maypole. Not there for your years of solitude or the house's empty falls, empty winters, empty springs, dead leaves and squirrels, sprouting moss. The mornings were times for walking, coming down from the house, earth in fast pebbles, sloping sharply to the shore. The mornings were the times for slipping out of shoes. Right first, then left, the shock of cold water. Fear and peacefulness. It becomes clear which to choose when one comes before you with claws, scratching deep into your chest, and the other comes with arms open, with a glass of water and a low voice, saying, "You are welcome." Here is my dream, to rid myself of this hurt and take my whole self, knick-knacked, paddywhacked, to a place of hope, and open my heart so the clouds can start moving out, so the birds can start flying out. But dear God, let it be something I can knock my fist on, knuckles to wood and a resounding afterwards. The soul wearies from pushing and pulling, dodging, ducking, falling, guessing. I don't want a house that the wind blows through. Cherish yourself even in sadness, when it is your own hand raised against you. Hold that hand even in the motion of the striking and say, "This is my hand, beloved for its skin and bones and nerves. This is my hand, beloved for its holy blood." There are two more if the battery holds out. Bombs are falling around me, and the city so familiar of narrow streets supporting places of every day, grocery store, apartment, yarn shop, boxy buildings making lines of the landscape through which my footsteps are all but steered by the habitual habitat, now serves a different purpose of directing debris, siphoning the blast, windows like dominoes. If the bombs destroy the city completely and I become a refugee, the city still stays. The yarn from the shop will be scattered in new birds' nests. The buildings, now dust, start a new soil. The two small English words, the postman mutters, like forgotten candy, bottom feeders living in a backpack corner found by hungry me, then sheepish shake of the head, and back to mostly foreign mumble-jumble, communicating by moving hands in human context, words meaning nothing. When we know nothing of something, that is a good time for the running of the bowls of our imagination, and we imagine vividly blooming desert, learning Spanish in 3 weeks, our lives changing quickly. It has been 3 months. Sometimes our lives change drastically, quite against our wills, and these changes our minds wouldn't dare approach, as much as we pride ourselves open-eyed facers of reality. Most days I'm an adept reader of context, adjusting outputs to inputs, meeting eyes showing care and confidence. But underneath, I fear I'm in a foreign land, shooting off dream after dream, unaware of what's going on. Yet still, I walked in the evening splendor, land blessed by God. He leaned out his car window as it drove past and said, "Hola, muchacha."
Okay, I've got another poem to inflict upon you. And this is from when I was 17. And I wrote it when I was 17. I was a senior in high school then and had English class immediately followed by physics class. And I was sort of really into English, and so always had my homework done beforehand, but not so much into physics. And I was always cramming for my physics assignments or whatever in English class. But I sat in the front row, so the teacher would always complain about all the work I was doing on physics in English class, and yet he couldn't complain because I was one of the few people getting A's in his class. Anyway, this is called Ode to Physics, and it's a parody of John Keats's Ode to Psyche. Ode to Physics. O teacher, hear these tuneless formulas rung by sweet examination and remembrance dear, and pardon that our problems should be done even in thine own English class. Surely I dreamt today in English, or did I study the more important physics with awakened eyes? I wandered in a classroom thoughtlessly, and on the sudden, fainting with surprise, saw two fair subjects couched side by side. In deepest thought beneath the flickering roof of English and funky physics, tween which there rang a bell scarcely heard. Mid hushed, square-rooted flowers, fragmented essays, they became black and blue in budding battle. The physics book lay calm breathing on the glassy desk. My mind embraced it, and its problems too. The student was scolded, but did not bid adieu to be disjoined by class time slumber, and ready still these tests to outnumber. At tender bell ring, ending English class, the poetic boy I knew trots away as a happy, happy Einstein to his physics true. There you go. That's a long time ago. John, you have some more poems? Might you have some more you could read for us, Sergi?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, well, how about each of you take a turn here?
Okay. If you guys are willing to stay, we'll keep using this mic. This poem's Desolation. It's about a hike. It's about a hike I took up. There it goes. So what did I do here? It's about a hike I took up on Desolation in the North Cascades up to the fire watch shack where Kerouac spent the summer in the late 50s. So it's kind of cool. I went up with a bunch of other writers, and we rode up at the shack and spent overnight. So it was kind of the nerd visit to Desolation, right? But it was perfect for me. Desolation. Adoration to emptiness of the divine Buddha. Light small camp stove on rock. Boil loose tea leaves in camp pot with begged water. Drink green tea offering. Kerouac's ghost. Useless, useless, rain into full pool, wake to mist, lightning creek, alone in rain gear, skin doing a stint in the woods, huddle beneath shelter on the dock, pack extra socks and drink plenty of water, rain into a full pool. Upper Skagit hydropower, captain's all right with the idea of a dam, of a lake being here again, thousands of years after glacial lake, thousands of years after Cordilleran ice sheet, the engineers like the gorge basalt. Mule barges north against a down lake wind. Oh, desolation, show mercy, a patch of blue. Adoration to emptiness of the divine Buddha. Someone Scratched out 4.25 miles, scratched in 4.7. Lakes come up, we discover Sunday morning. Can't avoid the void. Missed, it'll be missed. Jerry's good altimeter, German made and accurate, that and a topo is all you need. First aid for Christian's blistered feet, about a mile more. Square hermit shack, despair of Kerouac, evoked Han Shan from misted beyond, weathered and worn, windblown and torn, everything painted, park service green. It was well built with steel rods going down into concrete pourings. It wouldn't blow away. Jerry nods. After 100 days alone, wind can make the shutters just bang. Square hermit shack. Adoration to emptiness of the divine Buddha. Sunday. Returning down Highway 20, we intellectualize spirits. What remains in a place? Just 3 days ago on this same road, bopping to Johnny Griffith, who Paul says died last Saturday at 80, when a body occupies time alone. What you see, what you want to see on the peak alone. Lookout thermometer says 60 degrees. Weather affected you every day. I put on dry socks, sun hit rocks. Jeff squeezes peanut butter from a tube. Mist, it'll lift. Show great Canada to the north, blue, bejeweled, Ross, distant other worlds of electricity and consumers and desires below. Oh, Hosey means so much closer than foreseen. In and out of mist, it'll lift. Pressing on the windowed square Buddha shack. Its shutters open on all sides to gnarled pines, scattered sparse August, delicate blooms, scree, marmot scat, ants. And when the clouds part, be ready for what is. I want to stay on the peak, don't want to go down, don't want to be alone in desolate city, rather be alone on this beat rock. Although I'm no good alone, I'll be alone anyhow. In the end, Jack, rucksacked, ghosted.
One tall poet, one short poet. When I was a young man, I got myself into a pickle where I told someone that I'd written 30 poems about landlords and I hadn't. So then they called my bluff and I had to write 30 poems about landlords, and here they are. Number 1, Dear Lord, I do remember our agreement, but I'm sure, almost certain, that you will understand when I skip town with only immortal dust in my wake. Enjoy the deposit. Number 2, Dear Lord, the rent is due and my pockets hold only the void. Number 3, Lord, who will clean the stove when it becomes tarnished with tears? I believe in apartment 1A. And just a side note, for those of you who don't know, landlords tend to live in 1A. It's the first apartment. This was the case in my childhood. Number 4, the heat has given way to the night's wintry embrace. I'd never venture to your dark and Polish rooms, but my children are cold. Number 5, landlords, lords of the land, holders of deeds, Cyrillic madmen, is my deposit lost? Number 6, I can hear Barbara looming outside midnight's door. Today is April 30th, and tomorrow the rent is due. Number 7, there is only one problem with finally paying off a mortgage after some 28 years. Suddenly you are your own landlord, and the rage that was once directed at a faceless bank turns inwards and begins to consume. Number 8. Dear Lord, are pets allowed? Can a friend stay with me for a few days? Are there wooden floors beneath this stained satanic carpet? Well, how about a parrot then? They're small and they shit in their cage. Number 9. On a morning like this, a breeze cools my head, and the knives lie unbloodied, with my fury gently throbbing beside them. It's your lucky day, oh collector of bills. Number 10, this is a haiku. 2 bedrooms for rent, only $4.50 a month. Low, low deposit. Number 11, dear Lord, I seek your blessings, financial or otherwise. You see, it's not that I don't want to pay you, it's just that I spent all my money on love. Number 12, I remember the days when a lease was written on the wind and signed with an embrace. Now, O Lord, you are not my friend, but only a long shadow over my happiness. Number 13, a stony face and the warlord's accent. The leaves fall, and still I own nothing but myself. Number 14, I count bedrooms as children count sheep, but stay awake and pray to 2 different lords, hoping that at least one will grant me a reprieve. Number 15, excessive noise is prohibited. Page 14, paragraph 12. Here come the cops. Number 16, dear Lord, forgive my trespasses. I am humbled by your magic. The papers you hold with their enchanted words, stamped by Uncle Sam and Aunt Susie and apple pie. Who am I to argue? Number 17, my fridge leaks. Roaches have eaten my cat. I've called at least 9 times. When will salvation arrive? Dear Lord, yesterday, after touching the radiator, I had a vision of hellfire. Today, I found an icicle in bed with me, whimpering of loneliness. Fix the heat. This is a Jabberwocky kind of thing. Skrill Kulig Flantern on a lease, a script all ruin Stalf on release, but praining Trint whist out at Lou, come tint unfliven Vanderloo. Each landor flimps a fettled hink, or crine, and with an ungine stink, I would not frumple for a single rill, quintessent bliss upon that final bill. I saw the best air conditioners of my generation fall out of 3rd-story windows, purring whirs broken by that other invisible hand, gravity. Children gathered round, watching, whispering clumsy words, as that cornered demon dripped his last drop and looked with shuttered, fading eyes at the featureless void that is the ground upon which our dream cells walk, wearing the damp cames, sown from ancient leases, continuously realizing and forgetting that even our time here is rented. Number 21. I can hear the thuds of thuggish boots approaching. I lie quiet as a mouse and hold my breath, trying not to inhale the doorbell's acrid ring. A forceful eviction is liable to leave scars. Number 22. Sometimes I think I'd rather be homeless or out camping somewhere beyond the reach of history. Number 23. Whoever built this place in 1902 must have never heard of elevators. I'm told that climbing 8 flights of stairs is good for me, but fitness without choice is slavery. Number 24. Your entomological assassins wielding green gaseous swords burst through my door, only to be driven back by a deep, dark horde that will outlive us all. Roaches. 25. I look forward to the day when empty-eyed robots come to collect the rent. Finally, true absentee landlordism. Number 26. I see him at the store buying milk, along with everyone else. And along with everyone else, he's just doing his job. It's too bad that his job involves throwing the poor out into the street. Number 27. I married a landlord when I was 19 years old. Oh, she wasn't a landlord then. She was an entire world, bundled up in human flesh. I loved her so much that she was barely real. This whole landlord thing was only supposed to be for a few months, but ownership tends to possess those who dare call themselves owners. And my darling, my sunny, brilliant darling withered and became somebody else's dearest lord. Number 28. I am not a religious man, but once a month I get down on my knees and pray to a certain lord who, 500 years ago, would have been called feudal. Some things never change. You live above me, O Brad Pitt of Skokie, Illinois. You own more than just this building. You own my heart. And number 30. I came back after fighting grim men and their invisible women and found a parade being held in my honor. Then everyone forgot my name. 3 identical men in red, white, and blue suits offered me a building in the suburbs. Just collect the rent, they said. Now children spit on me, women don't see me, and those men who don't pray to me like to some god plan my death. To be a landlord is to be lord of nothing but misery. Thank you.
I'm glad we asked for an encore. We also have one more sign up for our open mic, and that is Joel, whose favorite summer song is Surfin' USA.
Well, I recently broke up with my girlfriend, and somebody told me to write 50 poems, so. All right. Number 1. Harder than I thought. Letting you go was harder than I thought. Thought it would be easy to say goodbye. For the reasons in you were oh so clear that I was not the one. For in you was only fear. We gave too much to each other, so much there was nothing left. We took so much from each other, so much that we bled to excess. Your body was a divining rod, a rod of truth, making you sick, trying to find the fountain of youth. Go find your Ricky Martin. Go find what you're looking for. I will keep you in my bedroom fantasies. And here is the crap from your drawer. Letting you go was harder than I thought. Thank you.
Okay, I've got one more poem for you. This is written about London, and if you've been watching the Olympics lately, maybe you've seen some pictures of the Royal Festival Hall. And at the time when I wrote this, the London Symphony Orchestra played there. And this is a place that I went to a fair bit when I was in college in England. This is called the Clarinet. A Londoner with hat, overcoat, clarinet plays amiable songs, tunes, melodies outside the Royal Festival. Command performance inside. His hat, overcoat, clarinet case are worn, and the tired case lies open where naked reeds, pennies, pounds rest The music floats sweetly across the Thames, played through thin wool gloves without fingers. And when the concert ends, bowlers, gowns, ducktails waltz like the river by to the sound of a dreamy clarinet.